Oh boy, look how pretty that looks. This is a pretty nice project. All right, let's talk about the code. This code is fairly clean. It's a nice, simple application or page, and it all reads nicely. There's not much to comment here, but I do want to talk about what we're seeing in these projects. As you can see, when it comes to JavaScript, just like we talked about at the beginning of the course, it's all about reacting to users' interactions or user events, right? I mean, if we go to the home page here, let's say we're refreshing the page, we're reacting to the fact that a page or a user has landed on our page. And what happens when a user lands on our page? Well, if we open up the network tab, we see that when we refresh, let's make sure we select all here. When we refresh, we load up index.html, then the style.css, because if we go to our index.html, on this line, it loads up our style sheet, and then it continues to parse the HTML. Then we get to the script tag, which is at the bottom of our file, and the script tag gets loaded and executed. And then we have things like the font family, we have photos, favicons that get loaded later on. But usually we have this HTML, CSS, JavaScript flow to our projects. What happens is exactly what JavaScript was designed for, right? As soon as we display something on the page, so the very first time it loads, we don't expect the user to take any actions. Initially, when we refresh the page, they just see something. They see a website, a web page, a web app, and then they try to interact with it. So the first interaction is that they land on the page, then they're probably going to scroll or click on things. And now we're starting to see this pattern. We're essentially, with our script file, initially gets run once, like this, when the script tag gets encountered by the browser. We run this file, and then the rest of our code is usually waiting for the next event to happen. In our case, we have two events. We have the click event on the menu bars and click event on the nav items. So once we execute our HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, the JavaScript is now just waiting to see what the user does. And this concept of initial execution and then adding event listeners or listening for events is what big libraries like React do, what frameworks like Angular do. They're essentially reacting to changes or inputs by the user and adjust the web app or website accordingly. Maybe I'm logging into a website, maybe I'm scrolling through a website. What React, Angular, Vue, or any front-end framework does is make it easier for us to keep doing this thing. That is to listen for events, listen for user interactions, and react to it. This is the main concept with JavaScript, right? It's all about there is some sort of data on the screen and the data changes. Maybe the user clicks on a button. This data that we capture, has the menu button been clicked? Has it been clicked? True. Or has it not been clicked? False. And as soon as this data changes on our websites, true, false, navbar was clicked, navbar was not clicked. When that data changes, we use code to react to that data change. So the way I want you to think about it when you look at JavaScript is that JavaScript is the reaction of data change on a web page. And all we're doing is noticing these data changes and displaying new information to the user. And at the end of the day, all these tools, libraries, frameworks do exactly that. They find a good way for us to display to the user something visual based on data changes. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.